Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to go over pots and repotting with you guys. Yesterday I asked on my Instagram for you guys to give me questions that you had about pots and repotting. So today I'm going to answer all of those questions as well as show you what I do, what works for me when it comes to pots and repotting. And I just want to put a disclaimer that I'm not saying that what I do is the best way or the only way. This is just what works for me and how I like to do things, what I prefer, and I just want to share that with you guys.
When I wake up, what do that? Is this even real?
The first question that I want to address is a question that I see in the plant group communities on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, is about drain holes. Do I need to only buy pots with drain holes? If I buy pots without drain holes, do I need to drill drain holes? So first, let me answer, all plants need drainage. You cannot have a plant without drainage. The roots will get saturated in water, they'll rot, your plant will die. So yes, all plants need drainage. However, you do not have to have drain holes in all of your pots. And I'm going to show you what I do, what I prefer to do. I prefer to buy pots without drain holes. And the reason for that is I keep all of my plants inside the pretty pots with their nursery pot. So this is the pot that this Birkin came in, and this is a pot that I purchased from At Home. It has no drain holes. It's very pretty. It's actually one of my favorite pots. So this is why I like to do it this way. First of all, I can always see the roots at the bottom of the pot through the drain holes because there's multiple, not just one in the middle. I can see the roots. And also it makes it super easy if you get a new plant and say, you know, I think this plant would look better in this pot, you can move them around real easily. Also, I take on watering days, I take my pots and I put them in the bathtub and I water them and spray them down, let them drain the majority of the water out, and then I just stick it back in the pot. I don't have to worry about water leaking all over my furniture or having drip trays underneath of them. It doesn't matter because I'm not watering it inside this pot anyways. So when I do put the nursery pots inside of the cash pots, is what they're called, there's something that I want to point out here. See if I can show this on camera. This nursery pot has room inside of this pot. It does not fit in there snugly. And the reason that I do it this way is so that the drain holes in the bottom of the nursery pot are not being suffocated by the pot. You still want your plants to be able to absorb the oxygen in the air. So you want it to have some room, a little bit of room, or you can do it this way to where the nursery pot just kind of sits on top and makes a lip, so that way the pot doesn't go all the way to the bottom of your cash pot. Another benefit of doing it this way that I like is that doing it this way also provides the roots with humidity. So you can see that there's humidity on the pot, but there's no water inside the pot. So it's not sitting in water, but it is getting humidity. However, if you do have a plant that lives like this, that gives humidity at the bottom, you'll want to at least once a week take this out and let it kind of dry out so that it's not getting as much oxygen. You don't want it to you don't want to get root rot on your plants from doing it that way. So this is one of my favorite ways to do the nursery pots. This nursery pot fits inside this pot perfectly, but this nursery pot has a lip on the bottom so that it's not being suffocated by the pot. This is my favorite fit of this. So as you can see, I also have this Monstera like that. All of my pots, for the most part, are nursery pots inside of cash pots, almost every plant that I own. I do have a few that are repotted, and I'm gonna show you what I like. So if I'm going to repot a plant out of its nursery pot and into a decorative pot, I prefer these plastic pots with the self-draining lip on the bottom. I don't like replanting pots because I don't like repotting plants because I can't see the roots. So I can't tell when this needs repotted until the plant starts to give me problems. But if I am going to repot something into a pot out of a nursery pot, I prefer the self-watering plastic pots or terracotta. Terracotta, in my opinion, is very underrated for a pot. Even with my plants in terracotta, I still usually put a nursery pot inside of it. I don't usually replant. But if I do, I like terracotta because the terracotta is very moisture absorbent, so it kind of wicks the water off of the roots. So it's very, very drainable. It doesn't leave your plants wet and saturated. To answer the question of do you need drain holes? You do need drain holes. You can drill holes in the bottom of your cash pots with a diamond drill bit. You can do it that way if that's how you prefer. You can buy pots with drain holes and repot them if that's how you prefer. This is just my preferred method of doing things. One of the other questions that I got yesterday on Instagram was, how do I know how big of a pot to put the plant in? So if you're repotting, the rule of thumb is 2 inches bigger. That's kind of what everyone in the plant community says. If you are repotting because your plants are really root bound, you want to go 2 inches bigger. Personally, I prefer 1 inch bigger. So for an example, if I was going to repot this Birkin out of this nursery pot, I would put it in a pot this size of the cash pot. So you can see there is, like I said, room in this pot. This is about 1 inch bigger than the pot that it's in. I would repot into this. The reason for that, and the reason that I prefer to move slowly instead of 2 inches at a time, I only do 1 inch at a time, is there is a misconception that if you plant a plant into a bigger pot, it will grow bigger. This is only partly true. Most, not all, but most houseplants like to be at least a little bit root bound. So if you take this Birkin, let's pretend it was root bound and it needed to be repotted. If you took this Birkin and put it into a 10-inch pot, you would have all of this extra room and soil all around it. So the plant is going to focus on growing roots. It's not going to focus on growing leaves until it becomes, you know, kind of root bound. So you're going to repot it, you're going to stress it out, and then it's going to focus on healthy roots before it focuses on healthy leaves and foliage. So I prefer to do 1 inch at a time so that it doesn't take long for the roots to get snug and to give me more beautiful foliage. So let's say you order a plant online like this, and it comes not in a nursery pot. It comes with just roots and a little bit of soil. I haven't unwrapped this yet, so I'm not sure how big the roots actually are in here. But what I do is I just kind of take nursery pots before I put any soil in it, and I just kind of see how it fits, how the roots fit in here. So this pot has quite a bit of room around it. So I would, this is a 4 inch. So I would probably go down a little bit. I'd probably do like a 3 inch with this. You just want it to, you just want the roots to not be so concentrated in one spot. You want them to be, to kind of fill the pot. One of the other questions that I got are, what are the best pots? So I think the best pots are kind of your opinion on what you like. Personally, I would, let's say that this pot had drain holes. I would never repot into this even with drain holes. And that's my preference. the reason that that's my preference is that this material of pot is not going to absorb any moisture. This is like a ceramic glossy finish. It's not going to absorb any kind of moisture. Even with a drain hole, it's still going to remain pretty wet, and it's just not going to drain as fast as I would like it to. So I would never repot into this. If I am going to repot, like I said, I will use a plastic pot with the self-watering system at the bottom or a terracotta. Another question that I got was, how do you know when it's time to repot? So as I said, a lot of houseplants like to be at least a little bit root bound. If you use my preferred method of potting, you can easily just take your nursery pot out and look at the bottom of the plant. If the roots are coming out, swirling around, it's probably time to repot it. You can easily see that with this method. This does not need repotted, but most of the time when a plant gets too root bound, it'll start showing signs on your foliage. So leaves will start dying off, or they'll start turning yellow or browning. That is another way you can tell. You just have to kind of keep an eye on the roots and how much room they have in the pot. Another question that I received was, where do I buy my pots? So I am not one of those people that will spend $30 on a cute pot. I'm just not doing that. So I have a lot of these pots, and these all came from Meijer, Home Depot, I think maybe one from Lowe's. Almost all of their plants that you find in big box stores like Meijer will come in, well, at least this year, they came in these pots. So I have a lot of these. And these plants I paid like, I think $15 to $17 for it. And then this pot, and where I've gotten a lot of my pots, is a store called At Home. If you guys have that, this is their logo. This pot was originally $14.99, but anything at the At Home store with a red mark through the barcode is 50% off. So I only paid $7 for this. I watch for sales at places like At Home, TJ Maxx, Marshalls. At Home did a sale recently where all of their pots were 50% off, and then they also had certain pots that were buy one get one free, so I got a lot of pots there. Terracotta you can find literally anywhere. They're so easily accessible. But yeah, that's mainly where I buy them, is stores like that. The last question that I'm going to answer today is about hanging pots. A lot of people on Instagram asked questions about how I keep this Hartley philodendron that's like 7 or 8 foot tall, hanging from the ceiling since it's so big and heavy. And my answer for you is ceiling hooks. I have this in a ceiling hook and I have this in a ceiling hook. So essentially the ceiling hooks are like a metal screw rod. It's about this long, and it has a metal butterfly on one side. So you drill a hole into the ceiling and you screw the butterfly onto it. You close it with your fingers, shove it up into the ceiling, and it opens up so that it can't come out. And then you screw the hook onto the other side. And I would not recommend hanging a plant without those from your ceiling. Once you water them, they can get quite heavy, and you definitely don't want to rip out huge chunks of the drywall in your ceiling. So I definitely recommend those. I ordered a pack of, I think, 10 on Amazon, and I'll link that in the description for you. All right, so I think that's all the questions that I had on Instagram, and I hope you guys enjoyed me sharing how I do my pots and repot. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to ask in the comments or jump on over to Instagram. You can ask me there, and I will see you guys in the next video.